All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Headed Home podcast. We are your hosts, Andrew and Jen Gallegos. We have a couple of great guests joining us here today, and we'll introduce them here in just a second. But first, someone had a big day yesterday. 4-0, big birthday. Jen's officially an adult.
I wouldn't go that far. I have a good friend that's an attorney, and he texted me yesterday to remind me that I was now part of a protected class, given my age. So that was.
How does it feel to be 40?
Babe, you're 40.
I know. I feel great. I feel like I'm entering into my prime.
Yeah.
Maybe not physically. I do feel, being 40, I can still do a lot physically, but it's a little slowing down a little bit, but mentally I feel really good.
Says the man who stretches 3 times a day.
Well, it takes a lot of work
to keep playing old man basketball.
Stretch. It's a lot of stretching.
All right. Well, we are joined today by the Guy team, Deb, Guy, and Chris Harvey, and they are an extremely experienced and successful real estate team at RE/MAX of Cherry Creek here in Denver, Colorado. We're super excited to have them on. This is fun because this is the first time that there's been 4 of us on an interview that we've done. So I'm really excited about that. But Deb and Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So you guys, we've worked together a couple times over the past few years. We've got a mutual client that we've helped with a couple purchases. That's how we've, how we initially connected. And so, working with you guys firsthand on those transactions, I was really impressed with, just the customer service, the professionalism, the knowledge that you had in those transactions. But one of the things that I like to do just for preparation when we have guests on here is to go online and kind of just do some recon on reputation, reviews, ratings, kind of see what your clients are saying about you. And with you guys, when I did that, I was just like blown away by what I found. A couple quick stats here, like 68 Google reviews, and every single one of them was 5 out of 5 stars. It looks like 37 Zillow reviews. Each one of them was 5 stars, 5 out of 5 stars, which is rare. But the funny thing is when I got into reading the reviews, and almost every one of them had multiple paragraphs just raving about the way that you guys work. And one review, and I won't go on too much about this. I know you're humble. I'm not going to, spend the whole time talking about this. I don't want to embarrass you, but it's worth mentioning. One review starts like this, quote, "Deb and Chris are the best thing that's ever happened to me other than meeting and marrying my husband. If we were planning to have kids, we would name them after Chris and Deb." and so like that's, and it's like a theme throughout all of the testimonials that it's just really outstanding stuff. So you guys are obviously creating raving fans. I mean, what's your secret? Loaded question, right?
Yeah, loaded. Our secret is how we treat our clients. And I would even say clients. It's how we treat our friends and family. And that's how we treat everybody. By being educators, by being professionals, by being friends and caring about people, having them feel that caring from us to them, that creates lifelong fans.
I think when you this honestly doesn't matter what career you have, but I think like when you go into every situation or every interaction, and it's kind of like a life philosophy, but when you go into every situation kind of with this lens of like service, and like wanting to like genuinely like care about other people and help them, and like how can I make their lives a little bit better today, like people see that. And I think that ultimately that's, just doing that is a really great way to just be incredible at any career that you have.
Relationships.
Yeah, that's everything. I'm interested in how you guys got into real estate, and kind of start from the beginning of how the heck did you get here?
Yeah, so I started in 2002. I was a financial analyst for Toyota, living in Los Angeles, out of college, and realized pretty quickly that I didn't love corporate life. It just wasn't really, wasn't a place that I wasn't enjoying managing people. And my brother had actually gotten into real estate here in Denver, and kept on pestering me to do the same thing. He was like, I think you'd be great at this. I think it's an awesome career for you. You should move back to Denver and go into real estate. And so I took the leap. I quit my job at Toyota and packed up a U-Haul and drove back to Denver, and haven't looked back.
That's awesome. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, for me, I had a very successful and fulfilling 17-year career as a nonprofit fundraiser. I raised over $70 million for environment and education, and loved every minute of it. But I got to the point where I felt I needed a change. I wanted to do something different. So I explored a lot of different options, and real estate just kept on popping up as an option. And so I called my real estate broker and said, let's talk. And she encouraged me to explore, gave me every confidence that it was something that I could be good at. One thing led to another, and she and I teamed up. And as they say, that's all she wrote.
Well, no, that's awesome. And so tell us then about teaming up, like what are your roles then on the team? Like Deb, what do you do? Chris, what do you do?
Yeah, we do everything together. So this is a true partnership. And when you come to us as a buyer or a seller, we set the expectation that you're going to get the best of both of us. We set the expectation that we're doing everything together. We like to say, the old adage of two heads is better than one. We talk all day, every day about all of our clients, strategizing about all of our clients. So we both know what's going on. So at any point in the day, either one of us, whoever's available first, can jump in when that buyer, that seller needs our help. So there's never a lag in time with our clients. And that's how we operate. It's a true team and a true cooperative partnership.
Well, that's huge too, because everything moves so fast. And I've been doing this for 13 years, on the loan side. And I feel like it's just this redundant. We were just talking about it yesterday because, I don't know, the Fed came out, made an announcement that they were hiking rates, right? For 13 years, it's been like, oh my God, this is just a crazy industry. Like everything is happening so quickly. It's always like that, right? And I think that the professionals that are able to make a living out of it, quick responses, it's so important, because what you've got what's going on in the market, you've got to be on top of it. Sounds like you guys are. I know you guys are, but tell me this, when starting in an industry, especially being successful in other industries, coming into real estate, it's so competitive. It always has been. Did you hit stumbling blocks like right when you started, or were you successful right off the bat?
I mean, I definitely hit stumbling blocks. I mean, I think that there were times that first year that I got into real estate that I was like, I wonder if I call Toyota if they'll give me my job back.
Just kidding.
I mean, you're starting a business, and I think that's the biggest takeaway that I took was, no one tells you that. You're like, oh, like real estate, it's something like, no, you are becoming a business owner. And that means that you have to wear every single hat, of being a business owner. Right. And I think that there's a lot of agents still that have been in the business for a long time that don't look at it that way. I was fortunate, I think, with my finance background, to sort of be able to look at things differently. I think that that's also been a way for me to educate my clients as well. We have a lot of investors that we work with, and having that finance background and being able to sort of analyze things for them, I think is something that our clients really appreciate, that's part of the guidance that we're giving. But yeah, no, it was definitely the first couple of years was certainly tough, right? Starting anything and trying to build that network and whatnot, and built the network basically where all of our clients come from referrals. So in that referral marketing, I think is a really tough way to kind of get into the business. But then once you establish that database, then it flows pretty well.
Chris, what about you?
I wouldn't say so much stumbling blocks as a learning curve. And Deb alluded to it. It's starting your own business, right? You go from a W-2 employee at a nice cushy job to running your own business and all the things that come along with that. So, for all those new people starting out, you have to expect that it's not just starting real estate, working with clients, but how do you run a successful business on the back end?
Sure.
And that's the stuff that you're not prepared for.
Mhm.
That's the learning curve. Those are the stumbling blocks of what kind of business do I run? Am I an LLC? Am I a sole proprietor? How do I do my taxes? How do I track every single expense? These are the things you don't think about when starting your own business.
Mhm. Yeah, I sometimes and we were talking to a couple agents on interviews previously, but I think one of the things that happens when you're in a situation where like you own your own business, there's all these like skill sets that you don't realize that you need to have. And one of the things we were talking about specifically with some agents is, like they were really good at being real estate agents. And then all of a sudden they had a team, but they had no skill set around leadership, right? Like they had not necessarily had that skill set before. And so I think that's a great point. Like when you're starting off and you have a business, you might really understand real estate really well, but then you have all of these other components to your business where you're like, I don't even understand what to do with this part. And you're having, and because it's yours and you don't have necessarily a whole lot of support with other, folks, you have to learn all of that on your own. And I think, like you said, that can be a huge learning curve. And I'm interested in when you guys are, talking about being successful as a team and when you started out, what are some of like those qualities that you feel like really make an agent successful over the years?
I think that, part of being an agent, right, is understanding that you are counsel for your clients, right? And again, sort of like making sure that you're putting their needs, their goals first, and leading with that, I think is the most important thing. And I think that that's where, when I see agents that are faltering or not doing a great job, or their clients aren't respecting them, it's because they don't have that mindset. Right.
Yeah.
It's that, layer, that mindset that is so important as an agent, and it's funny. I learned that pretty early on in my career. I moved back to Denver in, 2002, was staying with my brother and sister-in-law at the time. And as I was hunting for a place for me to buy. And when I bought my first place, I was the agent, right? And was like, oh my God, I was a basket case. And realized that I didn't have the stress reliever, right, that I needed, that sounding board, that agent to bounce things off of, and how key that was for me to provide that for my clients and become that stress reducer and try to help them, through the whole process and guiding them through everything and trying to be that sounding board.
Well, and you said one thing that I think is really interesting, because part of it's being a soundboard, but I also think you probably recognized the importance of your clients needing someone who's kind of like that calming like force during the transaction. And I think sometimes, I know that we've seen this, but when agents they're so emotionally connected to the transaction, that just ramps up your buyers or, whoever you're representing, and can kind of make the situation much more stressful. So I think, keeping that calming force as part of that guidance that you have with your clients is really, really important too.
Mm-hmm. And throw on marriage counselor on top of that too.
Yes.
Couples who have a difference of opinion in what they're looking for, you've got to be a marriage counselor.
Yeah, Chris, I think on a couple of the reviews, I think Chris is my therapist. I think someone said that. But no, that's a good point. I haven't heard it explained like that, the sounding board, I guess, kind of like a guiding light. But it is important. It's an emotional experience. It's a huge investment for people, whether they're buying or selling. And it's also an identity. It's a shift in identity when you move houses, and that kind of stirs up a lot of emotions that I think need to be balanced out. And that's a good trait to kind of focus on as a real estate professional. How long were you in the business until you felt like, okay, I can actually make a career out of this, and I'm not going to, go back to the corporate gig?
I think for me, it was probably 2 or 3 years, into it,
Yeah.
kind of feeling like I had my legs underneath me and was really enjoying what I was doing, and felt like I had the skill set for it to make it a lifelong career.
What about you, Chris?
Oh, I never had a doubt.
Never? Right off the
1
bat, you just
second.
knew.
It does. It takes a couple years.
Yeah.
It's not an easy career. There's a lot to being a real estate broker, and it does take a couple years before you stop and say, you know what, I think I can do this. I think I can make a career out of it, because there are so many moving parts. There are so many different hats you have to wear. It takes a while. It takes a while to really get comfortable.
Yeah. And I do think that you do in some ways have to have that attitude of, I'm going all in.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've talked to people, and you guys probably have too, if you got realtors reaching out, or for me, lenders, hey, I want to, get into this business, but maybe do it on the side or do it part-time. And it always kind of scares me when I hear that, because I don't feel like I feel like you do have to go all in at the beginning, understanding that it is going to be a couple of years, and you have to put everything into it, every ounce that you have, leave it on the table. And I think for me, that was the only way that I could be successful, is by committing my life to it. Because I don't think otherwise I would have been able to.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Sink or swim.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say sink or swim.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, and because it's too competitive too, right? Like if you're going to go in kind of part-time, like there's other professionals out here that are in it full-time, and like it is who puts the most time in and effort and learns the most. A lot of lessons early on for sure. What are like a couple lessons that, and I know you mentioned, Deb, like, you went through that process of purchasing your first place, and you were the realtor, you wanted a sounding board. What are a couple other lessons that you learned early in your career that maybe you hold with you still today?
What do you think?
The contract?
Yeah, I think one for me is learning that contract. I think the contract it's the backbone of what we do. It's what keeps your clients safe. It's what keeps your clients protected. There's a lot to it. It's a big document. And so really knowing and understanding that contract, what it means for you, what it means for your clients. That was something I learned early on. I printed that thing out and laminated it and read it most nights. It makes a difference not only during the transaction, but when you can sit there with a client who's about to go under contract and talk about that thing front to back and really come across sounding like you know what you're doing, it gives them a confidence that, okay, he's got this, she's got this, I'm in good hands. And I think it's really underrated. So just knowing that contract, being comfortable with it, understanding it, it makes you just such a better real estate broker.
And I feel like that probably gives you, like you said, like a level of confidence for you in your position. Like you feel more confident in what you're doing. And I think that probably comes across when you're, in other parts of your life, connecting with other people and talking about your business, that you really feel like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Instead of pretending.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And being able to guide your clients, right? I mean, like things come up, situations come up, and, they're feeling nervous. They've got a lot of money as earnest money, sitting on the table, and they want to know with confidence if they're going to terminate a deal for certain reasons, that earnest money is protected. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So Andrew and I we're like weirdos about time management.
We
hacks.
are?
And yeah, you
Just
are
kidding.
a big weirdo. And just like any time management hacks or like systems and processes, we have like a large amount of systems for every part of our life. That's like kind of embarrassing to admit.
Okay, true. But I think you guys will agree, like in order to be successful, right? Like you mentioned, you have to be efficient, right? Like in order to help you want to help a lot of people, right? And I'm just in business, you have to have efficiencies. You have to have systems and processes. I believe that's from me, but what do you guys think? Like, do you believe in, are you very systematic in the way that you work? Like, is time management important to you? Do you focus on that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we would not be able to do the volume that we do and have an actual life without those systems in place. You know, we have an operating manager, Jen. She's phenomenal. And
she has a great name, by the way. I've told her that.
Strong name.
Yes, exactly. And she really is our systems guru. You know, she's the one that's kind of running the show behind the scenes, you know, for us, making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. You know, we have a listing coordinator that helps us with all of our listings. We have a transaction coordinator, Desiree, who, you know, is making sure that like the transaction, everything is getting done, that it's supposed to be done, that we're hitting the deadlines, and kind of keeping us on track there. And what that does is that allows Chris and I to be in front of our clients, right? And answering those questions and more available to our clients because we've got people that are running all of the systems for us behind the scenes.
How much focus do you put on it? Like, is it something that like you have time built out to be like, all right, we're going to spend a little bit of today to have a meeting and talk about systems? Or is it more of like, hey, this came up on this transaction, we should really add this into the system at some point?
So, I mean, we have a team meeting every Thursday. So we sit, you know, down together for 2 hours as a team and kind of go through, you know, the different stuff. We've got a set agenda that we hit. And I think that really kind of keeps us in line with what's going on, you know, and then like Chris alluded to earlier, you know, we're constantly talking, right? You know, we're strategizing for our clients, kind of keeping each other up to date on what's going on, you know, within the transactions. And I think that those, you know, daily, it's not a set daily thing, but I would say that we're probably have talked to each other at least by 10 a.m. every day.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys sometimes talk earlier than Andrew and I talk, and that's because we have a 6 and an 8-year-old that like when one of us just starts a sentence, it's like they're right.
Get interrupted.
Yeah. So sometimes we'll like go to bed, you know, we'll be ready to go to bed and I'm like, hey, how was your day?
Yeah. It's a running joke now.
What I saw you 30 times, but didn't get to ask you. Well, that's good. And I think, Deb, one thing that you said that I think is really important to mention, because you guys do the industry that you're in, you know, people are pulling at you kind of like at all hours of the day, potentially. And I think that one of the things that we really learned about our lives, because it is important for us to have lives, right? Because if you're just constantly reacting and working all hours of the day, that's not really like an enjoyable experience for long periods of time. And so we have realized that like systems and structures that we can put into place, like really allow us to have, you know, flexibility and like having a life that we enjoy. And I think that some of those like proactive things that you talked about and like having support people to kind of do that stuff so that you can focus on like the main thing, which is supporting your clients, is really helpful for them, number one, but also like really helpful for you guys to have a life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it allows us to be nimble. And I think that's the other thing too, is because, you know, again, I mean, the market has slowed down to a point where we don't have to react as quickly as we had to, you know, but I mean, in 2020 and 2021, I mean, in some cases, it's like if a house hit the market, we'd have to get our clients in there within hours because it could potentially be gone, right? And so having two of us and the ability to be nimble in that, because we have someone in the background doing all the system stuff, was really helpful.
It's almost like you, like proactively, you know, set up all those systems, to leave you guys open. Let me ask you this. With your clients, you know, and we do have to be nimble, right? But that could also be taken advantage of just depending on the client. In terms of setting expectations, do you put a lot of focus on that with your clients?
I think we do. But I think it's one of the things that makes us successful is, you know, within reason, we're always there for them. And it's one of the other nice benefits of having two of us. We really understand that each of us has and wants a life outside of real estate. And so I know when Deb's got something going on. She knows when I have something going on. So if a client wants to go see that house Tuesday night, well, I know Deb has theater tickets. I'm going to take it on. Deb knows Wednesday night I've got my daughter's play, so she's going to take it on. And so it's really one of the nice benefits of having a team or a partnership is that we support each other in that way. So we can be more flexible with our clients while still respecting our private time.
I love that.
Mhm.
When you guys are thinking about, and I know you've had a ton of success, so there's lots of things that you could pick from, but when you are thinking about like something that you're most proud of, or a situation, general or specific that, really stands out to you as being one of like your proudest accomplishments, what would that be for each of you?
I've got a good story.
Yeah. Chris does have a good story.
It's a bit of a long one. You want it?
I want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
Awesome. So this is probably about 2018.
He's like starting in 1985.
I think it was about 2018. It was wintertime. There was a big snowstorm. The following day, we had some clients who were looking for a very specific property in the mountains. They picked me up. He had a big pickup truck, no problem. We're going to blast through the snow, and we go see this fantastic house in Morrison that we're really excited for. Drive up the long hill, switchback driveway to the house. We open the door, and we're greeted with the sound of a waterfall. We turn the corner, and the entire kitchen ceiling is sitting on the floor, and there's hundreds of gallons a second of water pouring from the kitchen ceiling.
Oh my God.
Flooded the kitchen. It's flooded into the living room. It's gone down the stairs. It's now flooded the basement. It's going into the garage. There's water everywhere. So it was on a well. So we called the listing agent, found out where the system was, got the well shut off, did whatever we could, but the damage had already been done. So we also found out that the sellers were out of town. They had just flown in that morning.
Oh God.
They were on their way back currently to the house from DIA. So I turned to the buyers and I said, hey, I think the right thing to do here would be to wait for these guys to get home, right? So we can at least explain what we saw, what we did, how we shut the water off, and they agreed that was the right thing to do. So 20, 30 minutes go by, sellers finally come home. We greet them outside. Of course, they're shocked, they're dismayed. We walk inside and they see the damage that had been done. They didn't know what to do. I think they were in a state of shock, really.
Yeah.
And so, we spent about an hour with them and we talked through what were going to be the next steps, how they should go about cleaning it up, how they should go about putting it back together. Explain to them that if they want to put this house back on the market when this is all done, it's going to need to be full disclosure. So do everything on the up and up, get your permits, make sure you're documenting every little thing you've done so you can tell that to the new buyers to protect yourself. When it was all said and done, we weren't buying that house. So we shook their hands, we wished them well, and we went on our way. A couple of weeks later, we found those buyers their perfect new home, and forgot about the situation. And about 6 to 8 months had passed. I was sitting at home one day working, my phone rings, I pick it up, and the voice on the other end says, hey, Chris, I'm not sure if you remember me, but you were in my house when the kitchen flooded. And I said, yeah, how can I forget? We had a great discussion, and essentially what she said was, you were amazing. And you took the time to care about me. You took the time to explain what we needed to do, explain what the next steps were going to be, and really put us in a position to succeed through this process. And we really felt how you cared about us, the time you put into us, and we want you to list our house because it's ready to go. And we took on that listing and got it sold, real quick, above list price, of course. We helped them buy a new home after that. And now we're helping them look for a home in Colorado for their parents. And so,
Wow.
you know, by giving an hour to care about these folks who weren't my clients, who I had no connection to, it's turned into 3 different real estate transactions down the road. And so I think that's a story that we're very proud of.
Absolutely.
That's incredible.
I think it goes back to what you were saying though at the
Wow.
beginning, where it's like if you just like legitimately like care about people and like walk in with like a servant's heart to like help people, that truly, I mean, that's the
That's
best
awesome.
thing that you can do. I'm
That's
just
like the
like
best story.
picturing like
I know.
walking like
Yeah.
on your end, that would be,
Yeah.
I just can't even imagine.
But how
Angela,
cool.
You can go back through our Google reviews, and she put out the same
Was that one of them?
review with that story, so you can find that one too.
Okay, I'll find that one too.
So Andrew's just been like he's eating popcorn tonight,
Just
like
all the
going through
Google
your
reviews.
Google reviews.
They're wonderful. That is that's an awesome story. Wow. Cool. Deb, do you want to share one as well? I mean, that's a great one.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that was definitely something that just, again, proud and shows that basis of what our core value is, right? As a team, is really kind of taking the time to help people, make them feel like they are comfortable, you know, with what situation is or what they're, you know, going through, and understanding that and doing it from the heart, right? So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like, I think the cool part about that too is you didn't have to stay there. You know, and like you could have, I think most people would have left, you know, just like, let's get out of here. Oh my God. Like these guys are on their way home. I don't want to be here for this, but like to stay there and be in that hard situation just to add value. Like you said, it's not like you were trying to make some sort of a deal happen between your buyers and the seller. It was just like trying to help them out. Really cool. And I'm glad that came back around.
It was the right thing to do. And that's what we like to do.
Yeah. I love that. All right. Well, let's shift a little bit. What's the biggest challenge that you're facing in your business right now, and how are you tackling that?
So, I mean, I would say the biggest thing is just sort of the misconception that our media is giving right now on what's going on with the market, right? You know, I mean, they're comparing everything to last year or to 2020, and those were completely unprecedented years. You know, those were complete anomalies that we will probably never see a market like that again in our lifetime. And I think that you can't really then compare what's going on right now to that. You know, what we've done is we've taken a different lens and said, okay, well, how does this year compare to what we saw in 2019, right? And when you look at it from that lens, you know, our inventory is about the same. Our days on market is about the same. Our, you know, list price versus sales price percentage is about the same. And so when you think of it from that standpoint, you know, we're not in like this huge buyer's market that the media makes it sound like. Our inventory, yes, it's double from what we had last year, but if you double 2, you have 4, right? 4 is still a pretty low number. And, you know, when you think of it from a perspective standpoint, you know, we have just over like 8,000 homes on the market right now. You know, in 2010, we had over 40,000 homes on the market, right? And so again, it's that perspective. And I think that that's what we're really trying to do right now with, you know, the different things that in our conversations with our clients, you know, we're doing sort of quarterly market reviews as well, that we're, you know, sending out the link and doing like kind of the video thing and allowing clients on to answer questions for them, you know, but then also sending the link so people can kind of watch it afterwards, just to try to educate and give that perspective that our media is not.
I like that. I think that's really important. And I like that you've got the, you know, a process of educating there, because I think that's what they need. Because I agree, you know, the headlines are geared around fear right now. So,
well, and I used to be a math teacher, so I just have to insert this, but I think data is a really powerful tool when you're using it in the right way. And so the bad part about data is you can skew it however you need to skew it to decide your own, you know, agenda. And so I think that's what's happening. But I think what you said is really important in the sense that like you have to make sure that you're like comparing apples to apples. The last couple of years, like you just got to kind of like throw that out, because it's not that's not like the real estate world that we live in. And so I think that that's really important when you're using data to be mindful of like, what are you actually comparing it to?
Yes.
And let's jump here. I do want to just keep going on this a little bit, because I get this question a lot from buyers. Hey, is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? Like, how do you answer that question?
Yeah, it's an interesting question right now, and I would say to the buyer, yes, it seems very much like a buyer's market, right? Compared to what we've had the last couple of years. They've got some power again. They've got some leverage again. We can go right now and find a house and potentially get it for under list price. We have full rights on inspection to do the inspection and ask for whatever we want to ask for, and probably get a lot of those things. Full appraisal rights are back. So to the buyer, it seems very much like a buyer's market. But Jen, back to what you were saying, if we look at the data, if we talk about the data, we're still in a seller's market.
Yeah.
When we talk about months of inventory, when we talk about total inventory out there, we are still very much in a seller's market. And so what that means for all of our buyers, once they've closed, what that means for all of our clients that are currently in their home and have no thoughts of moving, they're going to see appreciation year over year, because that's what a seller's market is going to give them. So it really is an interesting time right now, because it seems like a buyer's market to the buyers with the power they have. But if you look at the data, if you look at the statistics, we are a seller's market.
Yeah. And that kind of echoes the conversation that I'm having with buyers as well. It is a seller's market, but we've got more leverage right now, than we did a year ago, where we had to offer way above list price. And, obviously interest rates play a big role in that. Love it. Now, the real estate industry is constantly changing. There's been some big pivots this year with the way that the interest rates have jumped up. What are some ways that you guys have had to adapt, here in 2022 to help put your clients in the best position to be successful?
Yeah, I mean, I think for, the sellers, right, we've had to really kind of change their perspective on things, and I mean, even in the spring of this year, you could put your house on the market, maybe not do some of those items that, you knew were going to come up at inspection, right? Because a buyer would most likely buy it and waive inspection, and waive appraisal and all of those things. Where now, and back then too, I think just to give perspective, 80% of homes were going under contract in the first weekend that they hit the market, and most of those were multiple offer situations, right? Well, fast forward, and what we saw this summer and what we've been seeing this fall is only about 15 to 20% of homes are going under contract in that first weekend. So from a seller's perspective, how do you fall into that 15 to 20%, right? And, you've got to not only price the home correctly, but you've got to make sure your home is in tip-top condition from a standpoint of showing, that it shows really well that, if that water heater is 30 years old, well, maybe we're going ahead and replacing it, because we know the buyer is going to ask to have that done anyway, right? And now we can market, hey, brand new water heater, right? So it's the conversation has changed for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any like up and coming areas that you have recently been recommending to buyers?
I mean, yeah, there's actually quite a few, I think, opportunities, in our market still right now in order to buy. And it depends on, again, what lens you're looking at from. We work with a lot of buyers that are buying, a home that they're going to live in, right? But we also have a lot of investors that are buying and trying to, take advantage of what are areas that might appreciate faster than others. So we definitely have some of our favorites. Certainly if any of your listeners are interested, we welcome them to give us a call. We'd be happy to kind of talk to them about what we're seeing.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll put a link to your contact information for sure. You guys can reach out, get some experts' knowledge on where to potentially shop for a home, or if you need help with listing your house, they can help. I do just want to go right back on the, setting people up for, listing their house in a way to where it shows well. Like, what are some tactics that you do for that? Like, is it just case by case basis, or like, do you have like a process that you go through there?
Yeah, home staging. the end of the day, it's how do we put your house above the other 5, 6, 7, 8 houses within a couple blocks that are also on the market.
Yeah.
So staging is a big thing, right? Buyers are going to decide within the first couple of photos whether or not they want to go see your house. So how does it look in the photos? How does the furniture look? The lighting look? Does it differentiate itself from the 5, 6, 7 other houses they're looking at? So staging is a big thing. Photography is a big thing right now to set your house apart. And again, how it's priced too. How it's priced is really, really important. If they're a good buyer, they're going to come to their buyer's agent and they're going to say, hey, I like this house. What do you think? We're going to look at that house and we're going to say, yeah, I think that one's overpriced. It'll probably sit there for a while. Or no, that house is priced really competitive. We still probably want to get in there and take a look at it now before it goes. And so those are the two big keys right now, the two big hacks to how do we set your house apart from all those other houses that those buyers looking at.
Very cool. So that means we'd probably, have to. I think
If we were listing,
we were listing,
we'd
I
have
just
some work
think
to do.
of my children's toys. Like it's just, I mean, that's like a whole process that you have to be really thoughtful
have a lot
and
of stuff.
intentional about. Yeah. The Squishmallows. The
Yeah.
Squishmallows are the hot toy this year.
Don't talk to me about Squishmallows. There's about 25 of them in my house. So I feel you pain.
Well,
where did they come from?
in case you need to know, if you're in the market for some new Squishmallows, there's some really cool ones at Costco, Chris. You just
done.
go.
In case you
right
need
over
more.
No, this is off topic, but I actually have a book of all the Squishmallows that you can buy and their names and when they were born. So,
Oh, wow.
God.
yeah.
Please don't ever, if you ever meet my daughter, don't ever tell her
Don't
that
mention that.
exists.
I'm dropping it off at your house this afternoon.
Oh no.
Oh, well, I want to shift into kind of some things about next year. Do you guys have as a team like any production goals that you do, or like any goals that you're really focused on in the next like 12 months or 3 years, things that you kind of do together as a team to really, set yourselves apart?
Yeah. Setting goals it's important to us as a team. We meet every year. In fact, we just did our 2023 planning session last Thursday.
Love it.
And we sit down and we talk about for the prior year, what was working, what didn't work. We talk about what we need to improve upon, what we need to get rid of. We talk about our systems, how we can improve on our systems. We've spent a lot of time this December, actually, beefing up some of our systems, some of our listing presentations or buyer presentations, so we can go into next year, rocking and rolling. And so, yeah, every year we set our goals. Every week we talk about where we are towards those goals, what we can do differently, what can we shift in order to continue to reach those goals. And so setting goals and reaching those goals are something that drive us for sure.
One of the things I started doing a few years ago that was really helpful, because we do the same thing. And one of the things that I hadn't been doing, but started doing a few years ago that was really, really interesting as an activity when you're setting goals is going back through my calendar. So I would take my whole calendar from the previous year and I would go through every single day and look at because I time block on my calendar with the activities that I do. And I would go back through and really reflect and think about did this help me? Did this move me towards my goals? Or was this just something that was on my calendar that made me feel busy?
Right.
And I think that, when you're looking at systems and structures and how you can improve on them, it's equally as important, like you were talking about, to think about what are we doing that's not working? Because I think a lot of times you can get into situations when you've been doing something for so long, and you just keep doing the same thing over and over because it's part of your routine, right? But if you never take the time to sit down and look at it and really reflect and say well, hold on, did this actually help? Then you don't think about it,
You mentioned that setting goals drives you. This is a complicated industry, right? There's a lot of every transaction's emotional, right? tend to get beaten down sometimes, after a few tough transactions, maybe. Is there like, how do you keep that motivation then? Is it strictly the goals, or is there, do you have like a whys that you put down and kind of reflect on? Like, what keeps you passionate about what you do?
I think it's our clients. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
I absolutely adore our clients. I feel so fortunate that, we've had the chance to work with just amazing people that do respect us and trust us, and are fun to work with. Right. And so I think for me, just picking up the phone and calling somebody and just to say hi, check in on them, see how it's going, see what life is doing for them, right? Or, grabbing a cup of coffee or lunch or something like that. Like that, I think is what actually drives me, and makes this career that I've built something that I want to continue to do.
Yeah. And back to the goals piece, every year we try to set some big, hairy goals. We have the specific real estate numbers, but what are the big, hairy goals? And for 2022, it was work-life balance.
I love that.
We wanted to, with not just us, but every real estate broker out there, with how hard we ran and how fast we ran in the last couple of years. We wanted some work-life balance this year, and we incorporated that into everything we did this year. And I think we succeeded at that. And that really kept us fresh, kept us energized, and it really kept our eye on the prize, which was doing the best work we can for our clients this year. And so, yeah, that was important to us.
I like that. I mean, you have to do that, right? I mean, you have to put into yourself so that it's almost like decluttering your head, you have that balance. And then once you're a better version of yourself, you can give that version to your clients that you care so much about. Is there anything that you do, from like a personal development standpoint, that you feel like helps you immensely? Like for me, it's like morning routine, getting up, doing a little workout, reading, maybe setting the calendar for the day. Like, what do you guys do to like expand your mindset and maybe put yourself in the best position possible to take on the day?
Yeah.
I mean, I think again, sort of that self-care, right? Sort of taking the time away to work on, us personally, I think is a big thing. I love to travel. So kind of taking, that time and setting that time apart for me to do that, or just like you said, like getting that workout in. I think we're, it's you got to blow off that steam somehow, right? And you've got to take care of yourself. Otherwise you're not gonna be able to take care of your clients and be that calming force for them. Right. Because I think that's the thing too, is if I'm wound up as like a tight ball, right, I'm not going to be able to help my client have that perspective and be that calming force.
Yeah.
For me, there's a lot of things. The one that comes to mind is a good long walk with my two crazy dogs in the morning.
Yeah.
I live in a great neighborhood in Golden, and on my walk, I've got a straight shot straight down through North Table and South Table Mountain, where I can watch the sun come up in the morning. And, every once in a while I'll just pause and stop and watch. And it's just a really nice, calming, let's get our day started moment. And so that's how I start a lot of my days.
I love that. Probably fills you up with gratitude a little bit too, like just gives that to you by being able to see that.
Yep.
Well, I want to ask a question, if that's okay, before we wrap up.
Please.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it about
surprise? I call this surprise questions. Don't worry, they're not terrible.
Name all the names of all the, what are they called?
Squishmallows.
Squishmallows.
Smush.
Okay, that's the ones that they're playing with lately, though, with the little net.
Smushmallows?
I don't know. I just see them.
Oh,
I don't know if I've
man.
ever dug into them. Okay,
I mean, they
go
are
ahead.
soft. I will give them that. Okay, so this one's for Deb. So Deb, I know you like to travel a lot. And I think Andrew told me this a long time ago. We hadn't really talked about it lately. You scuba dive, right?
Yep.
Okay. So where is your most favorite place that you have ever done that or want to go?
So Fiji is definitely the best place that I've been. I actually was back there in June this year, and just forgot the sheer volume of marine life compared to other places that I've been in the world. On my list still, though, is the Philippines and Indonesia area. So I've heard that that is supposed to be some pretty epic diving as well. And I've not had a chance to do that yet. So that's on my list.
Love that. Awesome.
Fiji sounds amazing.
It does. Yeah.
You got a question for Chris?
Yeah,
here?
Chris, I want to know.
Off the top.
Yes.
I want to know, if you had to write a book today, what would it be about?
Great question. I think what I would do is I would make a coffee table book full of photos, and I would call it All the Crazy Shit That We've Seen in People's Houses.
You must do this now.
Oh, man.
It would be a bestseller. And I think the cover, and tell me if you remember this house, I think the cover would be the house where in the basement we opened the shower and there was a toilet in the shower.
In the shower?
Talk about being multitasking.
Well, we talked about efficiency earlier, so there you go.
I could be
Things at
convinced.
Wow.
That might be the cover photo.
Was it functional?
That would be
Oh
great.
yeah, it was a working toilet in the shower.
I don't even know. I have
Yeah.
questions about how that like
I think
How it
I
happens.
know exactly how that works. You do your business and you stand up and clean. It's great.
oh my God.
Wow.
Oh, people are so interesting.
Y'all have probably
Wow.
seen a lot.
Yes. Please write that book. I hope I hope you have like a journal where you just write down those things so you can do that one day.
We've got some. I'll send you some photos. We've got some good ones.
Please do. I would really love to see those.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Got some great information from you. You are great at what you do. Guys, if you're listening, go check out their reviews. They're awesome. But tell our listeners, where can they find you? Like, what's a good place to look you up if they want to?
Yeah, you can find us at guideteamhomes.com. You can check out our Google reviews. Yes, you will see those 68 5-star reviews. You can go to our Instagram page, Guide Team Homes. We try to keep it fresh with some really good informative reels that give our buyers and sellers some great tips on how to navigate this market and how to be successful.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, if you're listening, please, if you like this video or this podcast, wherever you're listening, like us, subscribe, comment. We love to interact with you. And until next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having us.